All right, let's get right into it. We're diving deep into a geopolitical showdown that has pushed the entire world right to the edge of a major war. We're going to break down this high-stakes chess match between the United States and Iran and figure out how exactly we got to this point. So, picture this. It's February 2026. The situation has gone way past tense. It's at a boiling point. A massive American naval armada is sitting right off the coast of Iran, and a 10-day ultimatum from the White House is literally seconds from expiring. At this point, the question isn't if a war could start, it's whether it's already too late to stop it.
To really get how we ended up here, on this razor's edge, we have to rewind the clock about 8 months. We're going back to the explosive events of June 2025, a short, incredibly brutal conflict that completely changed the game in the Middle East.
What went down over those 12 days? Well, it wasn't really a war. It was more like a coordinated, surgical strike aimed right at the heart of Iran's military and its nuclear program. It all kicked off with Israeli strikes, but it escalated fast. By the 21st, American B-2 stealth bombers were in the sky, dropping these enormous bunker-buster bombs on Iran's most heavily protected nuclear sites. And then, after 12 days of devastation, President Trump announced a ceasefire.
The damage was just staggering. Iran's top military leadership was, for all intents and purposes, wiped out. Their main nuclear facilities were, as American officials put it, totally obliterated. But here's the thing, and this is the absolute key to understanding the current crisis. You can't bomb knowledge. Iran still had its nuclear scientists and, crucially, a stockpile of highly enriched uranium. So the program was badly wounded, for sure, but its brain and its most vital fuel survived, setting the stage for everything we're seeing today.
Now, what makes this moment so incredibly tense is that the Iranian regime isn't just dealing with military pressure from the outside. While it's scrambling to rebuild its strength, it is also fighting a desperate battle for its very survival at home. It is, quite literally, a crisis on two fronts. Okay, so on the external front, you've got this secret, frantic race against the clock. Iran is trying to make its nuclear program completely untouchable. They're taking what they salvaged, equipment, that enriched uranium, and moving it into this brand new facility called Pickaxe Mountain. And get this, they're digging it up to 100 meters deep under solid rock, so deep that it would be safe from even the most powerful American bombs. This is Tehran's ultimate insurance policy. And then there's the internal crisis. The Iranian economy hasn't just struggled, it has completely imploded. The value of their currency, the rial, has just fallen off a cliff. I mean, look at this chart. Just a year ago, it was about 450,000 to the dollar. Now, it's hit a jaw-dropping 1.5 million. People's life savings have been wiped out, and basic goods are just unaffordable for millions. Well, that kind of economic disaster, it fueled a nationwide uprising. Protests just erupted across every single province, with people calling for the end of the regime. The government's response? Pure, raw brutality. In what's now being called the 2026 Iran massacres, security forces are estimated to have killed around 30,000 people. And to hide just how bad the killing was, the regime basically pulled the plug on the entire country. Internet access dropped to just 20% of normal. It was a total information blackout, designed so they could crush the protests in the dark. I mean, this is a clear sign of a government that knows it has no legitimacy left, and is just clinging to power with brute force. Of course, all this internal chaos isn't happening in some kind of bubble. On the world stage, Iran's weakness has sparked a major power struggle. Right now, we're seeing two completely different visions for the future of the region colliding head-on. So first, you have the American approach, which is all wrapped up in this new body called the Board of Peace. Now, publicly, they say its mission is to rebuild Gaza, but strategically, its real, unstated goal is to build a coalition to corner Iran and force what the White House is calling strategic submission. Basically, getting Tehran to give up its nuclear program once and for all. And you can really get a sense of the administration's huge ambitions for this thing. President Trump sees it as a history-making vehicle to totally reshape the Middle East, going around traditional bodies like the UN to create a new, more transactional kind of world order. But, and this is a big but, a lot of America's traditional allies, especially in Europe, are really skeptical. They look at the Board of Peace and see more political theater than actual diplomacy. They think it's just a tool for big, splashy announcements and quick wins, without the real substance needed to bring lasting stability. And countering the American vision isn't just talk, it's a direct military challenge. While the U.S. is gathering this enormous armada in the Persian Gulf, what does Iran do? It invites Russia and China for joint naval drills right in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategic waterways on the planet. They're calling it the Marine Security Belt. Now, this is not just some routine training exercise. No way. This is a brilliant and incredibly dangerous strategic play. By docking Russian and Chinese warships at key Iranian naval bases, they've basically created a human shield. Any American strike on those bases now comes with a massive risk of killing Russian or Chinese military personnel. And that, right there, is how a regional conflict could go global overnight. So, this all brings us to the final and most important question. With the stakes this unbelievably high, why is each side pushing things right to the absolute limit? Why are they both willing to gamble on a war that could easily spiral into something catastrophic for everyone? It really all comes down to two completely opposing bets. The Trump administration is gambling that Iran is so weak on the inside that it's about to break. They think if they just apply enough military pressure, the regime will choose to save itself over saving its nuclear program. At the same time, Iran's supreme leader is betting on something called defensive escalation. The idea that by threatening to set the whole region on fire and crash the global economy, the cost of an American attack will just be too high for Washington to pay. And don't think for a second that Iran is bluffing here. Their ultimate trump card is their ability to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, the world's single most important choke point for oil. The fallout, as you can see, would be instant and devastating for the entire globe. More than 20% of the world's oil supply would just stop. Prices would shoot through the roof. We could be looking at a global recession. That's the economic weapon Tehran is holding to the world's head. And that brings us right back to where we are now. On February 19th, at that first meeting of the Board of Peace, President Trump threw down the gauntlet. He gave Iran a 10-day ultimatum. Take a deal to dismantle your nuclear program or face the full force of this American armada. That deadline expires today. So, with the clock at zero, the U.S. military is poised to strike. We have two doctrines that simply cannot coexist on a collision course in the most volatile place on Earth. And the question that has the entire world holding its breath is a simple one. Is this all just the world's most dangerous game of chicken, or are we about to witness the start of a war that will define the 21st century?